Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Fred Meltzer.
She likes to do her Facebooking and keep up with all of her friends. I'll ask, how was your day? She'll have nothing to say till she finishes her post and hits send. Every night when I get into bed now, I'm the luckiest man in the world. Some would complain or think it's insane, but I have something extra with my girl. I have a threesome with my baby and her iPhone. It's much better than being alone. I can ask her to look up anything I can think of. We get the answer without leaving home. She bought another cover to match her shoes. Where else is such info and style? She'll look up the weather while we're still together, multitasking all of the while. She loves to keep up with her family. She loves to play words with new friends. Some people would say she shouldn't treat me this way or tell me that this is the end. But she gets frustrated with her upgrades. God forbid her phone won't work. Though I'm not to blame, to her it's all the same. She'll try to stab it with a fork. But at least she is not stabbing me. There's a lesson in all this, you'll see. So take my advice, let her have her device, and you won't pay emotionally. See, when everything seems to go wrong, or her bank account looks overdrawn, her bills she can't pay, but you can save the day when you just turn it off and then on. And then when she smiles and says thanks and deposits in your relationship bank, she'll put the phone down and you'll both go to town and you'll finally move up in the ranks. I had a threesome with my baby and her iPhone. I thought I had lost all respect, but it sure came in handy for crushing that candy, and the Patriots score I could check. And when we are driving somewhere, if I make a wrong turn, she's not scared. And I must confess that without GPS, we'd end up in the middle of nowhere. Yes, I must confess that without GPS, we'd end up in the middle of nowhere. He hits a few home runs, but he strikes out a lot, and there's nothing in between, no nothing in between. I'm on the bench and there's nowhere to look. Got the Williams shift and it's right out of the playbook. Everything is shifted around to the right, and they're all breaking up my line of sight. There are days when I wish I could get into the game. There are days when I wish that no one knew my name. I'm on the bench. I'm on the bench. They're banging on the cans, they're stealing all the signs. The commissioner's paid well to look the other way. Who's employing who, and do the umpires have sway? Or have they all been paid to look the other way? And when I buy a ticket, will I see a real game? Or will the winning pitcher ever hold his head in shame? And there's nothing I can do, I'm breaking promises to you. I'm on the bench. I'm on the bench. Is that marbles in your mouth or Vaseline under your cab? While you are spitting in my general direction, well, there ain't no safety net, so don't get hit on the head. It's your own fault, and it's just natural selection. We're on the bench. If I set you up with a hot dog and a beer, then I know you'll sit there quiet till I tell you to cheer. It's the best of times, it's the worst of times. Which narrative do you believe? We're on the bench. We're on the bench. We're on the bench. We're on the bench.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Talkin' Tunes. I am your host, Frank Walsh. Thanks for tuning in today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman on my right here is a local person who has transplanted to Atlanta, but he is back here to entertain you and tell you some stories today. He's formerly from the South Shore of Massachusetts, and he's here doing a little business, and it was great to catch up with him. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you my friend, Mr. Fred Meltzer. Welcome aboard, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Frank.
Thanks for coming on. I remember the last time that you were here, we had some mutual friends.
We did.
We had a band here. Was it Obscure Notation?
They were, and they've gone on to greater heights. In fact, both Chuck and I are alumni.
Yeah.
Chuck more so than me. I only played with them for a little while, but I really enjoy Mike and their band.
Right. We're talking about Chuck Vermette, who has graced his presence in the studio today. And well, thanks for coming on. Why don't we, wind back the clock a little bit and talk about, some of your roots and some of your origins, and how you get into music, and just pick a spot going backward and just tell me where it all started. Tell me where it all started.
Well, I started playing drums when I was 9.
Mm-hmm.
There is a picture of me with a sort of electric-looking guitar when I was 4, but I really don't know what that was about.
So you were a drummer more than a guitarist?
I was a drummer first,
Okay.
and honestly, I can find my way around to lead people in a blues jam or do things like that, but nobody's going to hire me as a hired gun to play guitar for them.
Okay.
I can accompany myself and jam and play with people, but as a drummer I can sit in with most kinds of situations. I've played jazz and classical and rock and blues and covers and originals and all of that.
How'd you get into the drums? Of all the instruments out there, what got you onto the drums to start off with?
My dad was an OBGYN in Plymouth. That sounds irrelevant, but I'm going to get to it.
Cool.
And when I was young, he was on call quite a lot. He had his own practice. Those were the days when you could hang out your own shingle as a doctor and not have to be employed by a hospital. And so he was starting his own practice, and he was working weekends and he was working night. People don't wait till 9 a.m. to deliver a baby.
Right.
And so we would have dinner, and my dad would take spoons and bang them on the table, and my mom said, "Look, why don't you just get a drum set?"
Wow.
And so he did. There's actually a picture of him and me that was taken by a good friend of ours at Collie Music in Plymouth, which isn't there anymore.
Yeah, I never heard of that one.
Right through the window with a Fibes drum set that my dad bought. We put in the basement, and he never really played. He didn't, he
Really?
couldn't find the time to take lessons or to get anywhere with it. But I picked it up and started to play, and took a couple of years of lessons, and played at Hanover Mall with combos, and joined the South Shore Conservatory for a couple of years and did their summer program.
Yeah. I may have seen you with some of those places. I lived in Hanover for a number of years and been on the South Shore, so I may have seen you at the Hanover Mall.
It would have
definitely at the conservatory. I've been there many times.
Oh, super. Well, Frank Batista was the conductor of the brass
I know
ensemble.
that name. Yeah.
And he was a strict master.
Really?
Oh, yeah. But I learned to play drums with a big band there. I got one of the drum slots in the second big band, and what it allowed me to do was to understand that when the drummer stops and 17 people turn around, that's a powerful feeling.
It is. I can imagine that.
So
Now, did your father deliver you?
no,
He was,
no, I was born in New Rochelle, New York.
Okay. So I was
back
going
in-
to say, I usually say that, you were born a small child because you wanted to be near your mother. I was going to say in your case, maybe to be near your father.
Yeah,
But not the case,
Didn't
right?
quite work out that way.
Right.
But he was an inspiration, and he took me to see all kinds of big bands. I got to see Buddy Rich and Louis Bellson.
Wow.
And I got to see Count Basie's big band, and later on Dizzy Gillespie and Miles Davis, and those were formative experiences. In
Nice.
fact, one time as a teenager, he took me to Storyville, which was in Kenmore Square back in the day. It was a jazz club down in the basement of that building that goes from Brookline Avenue to Comm Ave.
Yes,
and
yes,
it's that thing that looks like the Flatiron Building in New York.
Yeah.
In the
I
basement of
remember
there, in the basement of that building was a jazz club called Storyville, and Buddy Rich's big
remember
band
that.
was playing. And we arrived, and we got there a little bit late. It was general admission, and they seated us basically on the piano player's bench. I mean, that close. I was 3 feet from the piano player, and I was 10 feet from Buddy Rich.
Wow.
And I was just amazed at what he was doing. Of course, he was screaming at his band the entire
I was
time.
going to
and
say,
everything else,
he
but-
didn't appear to be a nice guy, right?
no,
So-
but he was a heck of a drummer.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
And he wasn't yelling at me, so I figured, what the heck. Later on, I got heavily into Rush, and so Neil Peart is one of my favorite rock
Neil
drummers.
Peart, sure.
And I realized that there's a difference between the two of them, and that is, this gets into the weeds a little bit.
Go for it.
But Neil Peart, I found from watching him at the Springfield Civic Center on the mezzanine, looking down directly on his drum set at a general admission show there, that Neil Peart is one of the greatest rock drummers because he works harder than anybody else.
Okay.
When you watch him, he's doing things that drummers are taught to do, but he's doing them better and faster. So
Okay.
it's just at another level, but there's a way to look at it and say, oh, it's not that he wasn't inspired, but if I practice hard and if I put in the 10,000 hours, I can see a path to maybe getting from here to there.
Okay.
Whereas with Buddy Rich, I was 10 feet away from Buddy Rich, and what he was doing was magic. There was no way that I could think of, oh, I just need to keep doing what I'm doing better and faster, and I could approximate what he was doing. There was just no way.
Right. I didn't see him, but I've talked to other musicians before and asked about the differences between, like, you get your rock, your blues, and this, and one of them gave me a great answer one time, and I'll throw it at you, and said that the difference between, like, rock or blues and jazz is that jazz plays a lot of notes.
Yeah,
That they're
I
very
guess.
they play a lot of notes.
Well, there's a lot
What's
of
your take
different.
on that?
There's a lot of different kinds of jazz, out there. I don't think you can categorize it all in one way because there's plenty of jazz like Windham Hill type jazz,
Yeah, smoother jazz,
Lee
right.
Ritenour and that
Yep,
kind of thing.
Lee Ritenour,
that makes better use of space.
Okay.
Just recently, I took my wife to Manhattan. We had a wonderful 4 or 5 days there. One of the things we did was we went to the Village Vanguard to see Joe Lovano's Paramount Quartet, and Joe is a sax
I
player.
saw Joe at Scullers, the old Scullers.
Yeah,
back in the
and
day.
apparently someone told me he taught at Berkeley at one point.
Really?
Yeah, I ran into somebody else, told them I saw Joe, and that's how he knew Joe. And so he played for a little over an hour with a quartet. It was him, a guitar player named Julian Lage, who was outstanding. The drummer was Will Calhoun, who played with Living Colour on all those 90s rock
Sure,
records.
Living Colour, yeah.
And none of what they did was anything like that. And so it was very experimental, very avant-garde, and sort of atonal for a while.
Okay.
It was tough to get your head around.
Yeah, yeah.
But in the last 20 minutes or so, it got a little more melodic. The progressions that the bass player was playing kind of came around a little bit. I mean, blues is the ultimate come back around kind of progression. So you can have a jazz progression that a bass player is playing through. It could be 64 bars. You could forget what the beginning of it sounded like by the time you come back around. But these last several songs had a head and a structure, and it was a little bit easier to digest, you know. Still a lot of notes. We heard a lot of notes at the Vanguard that night. That's true.
Yeah, so I remember the days, you know, I was very, very heavily into jazz. You know, I practically lived at Scullers, and one of the people I admired a lot was, you know, Pat Metheny.
Oh yeah, I've seen him a few times.
And, you know, and I watched him evolve into many different phases, and, you know, once his band broke up, he would go out and do a lot of stuff. And I had a hard time wrapping my head around some of the new stuff because it just wasn't grabbing me. As you said, it was just very free-flowing, and it didn't seem to have any form or direction. And you know, I really couldn't get into that. I mean, it was old stuff I could, and I remember seeing him many times in concert, and you know, with Danny Gottlieb and Lyle Mays, especially on the keyboard. He was a whiz on the keyboard.
Beautiful.
Lyle Mays. And but it's interesting. So, how did you get into you know moving along? When did you start like breaking out and say, hey, this is what I really want to do? You know, you played the drums, and then pick it up from there about how you get into your guitar, and when did you start saying this is what I want to do?
Well, I learned to play piano and took a couple of years of piano lessons as well. I was 11, 12, 13 years old. And when I was 15, my family took a sleeper car on Amtrak to Chicago to see my sister, who was spending a month there doing a theater project of some kind in college. She was attending Colorado College, where you take one course at a time for a month instead of 4 courses for a semester.
Okay.
So one of those courses for her was some sort of theater residency in Chicago. And my parents said, well, why don't we come out and see you? And we took the overnight sleeper car to Chicago. And it was the first time that I remember being really aware that wherever we went, my dad's credit card came out. And I still hadn't quite put together what has to happen after you pay, after you show someone your credit card. And so I wrote a song. It was a blues called Plastic Money. And it was a word of warning for those who spend too much on their credit card.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 15.
You wrote a song at 15?
Yeah.
Good for you.
And then when I was 17, we took an overnight boat to Nova Scotia. And that was as someone who was sort of a teenager and sort of getting ready to be 18 and of age, there were weird things happening that I saw that I wasn't going to participate in. One of them was, as soon as we got out into international waters, everybody scattered to go and gamble and play slot machines. They didn't waste any time. But one of the things that I did was I went down to the bar where there was a piano player playing, and he was going along and playing his stuff. And I said to him, do you think you could play a 12-bar blues? Because I'd like to sing a song. And I don't know what gave me the nerve to do it, or whether he looked at me and said, hey, here's this young kid, or something.
Right.
Yeah, I was just sort of hanging around. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't spending money there. So he said, sure. So he starts playing it, and I sang the song, and people seemed to like it. And then he leans over to me, and he says, hey, man, you got any snow? And I didn't know what snow was back then. But I wanted to be cool, so I said, no, man, I don't have any snow. So that was the end of that. But that was a world premiere for Plastic Money in international waters on the way to Nova Scotia.
There was a day, before cell phones. I mean, you could be, you have 20 cell phones watching this 12-year-old kid playing.
I could have been viral.
You could have.
So that was the first song. And then when I got to college, I started playing drums in a band. I went to Brandeis, and a friend of mine from New York named Andy, who I'm still friends with. We saw him a few weeks ago when we went to New York. And Andy was a great keyboard player. He was classically trained. He was way beyond, I suppose, he was a heck of a piano player and keyboardist, and he was also a computer science major in the 80s. So he was into all of the machines and synthesis and so on and so forth. And so he had a rack of stuff, that you would just need a piece of software for now, of course. Oh, yeah. And so we put together a band, and we're trying to brainstorm names and so forth. We were sophomores at Brandeis. and we settled on Guilt Without Sex.
Guilt Without Sex.
Yeah. So that's what we went on with for the first year, and then the following 2 years.
Where did you play? Did you play
campus stuff?
Campus stuff.
We didn't play in places in Boston and so forth. Campus stuff, parties, grad stuff. We managed to kind of get in with the people who were planning campus events,
right.
So we got some sort of bigger outdoor festival kind of things.
Who were you covering? What kind of stuff were you doing?
The guitar player liked, we did some Eric Clapton and Van Halen, and we wrote, we had a few originals that went in there.
Right.
Yardbirds. I guess it was a lot of that sort of British,
yeah,
which was
80s,
heavily influenced by the guitar player,
yeah, okay.
who was a terrific player, but so shy that he would turn around and play his solos for me,
really?
on the drums.
Really?
But that was a fun band. And then I took a semester in D.C., and when I came back, we formed a 7-piece band with horns called No Don't Stop. And No Don't Stop played several of those sort of big campus events, and so with the horns, it became more of a Chicago Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Blues Brother kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Of course,
How many horns? Did you have? What, 4? Like just trumpets?
No, just
or
sax and trumpet.
Yeah. Okay.
And then guitar, bass, keys, drums.
Nice.
And 4 of us sang. It was a kind of
you
a
don't
rich
see much of
experience.
that around anymore. You don't see a lot of horns anymore.
It's too bad. I played the blues jam that happens in Rockland every Sunday this past weekend at Players, and so Marty Phillips was there playing sax.
Great sax player.
Yeah, super. Albie Palumbo was there playing harmonica.
You were there this past weekend? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was Clay Brown. Who was there?
Chris Stovall.
Chris Stovall. I know there's a Brown in there. Chris Stovall Brown.
Super guy and a great
guy.
performer.
Nice guy.
Yep.
Nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was really fun to watch him play.
Good. Yeah, I didn't know you were there. I usually see Jim's pictures and videos and all that stuff, and I go there occasionally.
Do you know Stacy Zito?
Sure.
Yeah. Look on her page for videos.
I see her stuff all the time.
I played an original called Flip Flop Floozy Blues, and everybody got a solo and so forth.
Cool.
So, about women on Nantasket
I was with Jim not long ago, right at the next page.
I have a hello for you.
From?
The other night, after Porch Fest on Saturday.
Okay.
I used to be one of the organizers of Porch Fest in Hull.
Yeah.
And so I didn't expect to show up, but I tapped the organizer on the shoulder when I got there, and it was a big surprise. And she said, "We have a slot that opened up at 2:30 this afternoon." I didn't expect to play, so I got to play a little bit.
Good.
So that was fun. But that night, I went to visit Kenny and Christine down on Q Street, whose sister-in-law is Kathy Morgan.
Kathy Morgan.
And so Kathy said,
I was out for dinner with Kathy a week ago, and our friend Mary from California.
Oh, super.
Kathy's a sweetheart.
Yes, she is. She's terrific.
Big sweetheart.
And she was instrumental.
And her husband, Larry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know Kathy better than Larry. Early on when I was in Hull, I've raised Great Danes for 35 years.
Did you?
And I had a 2-year-old active puppy named Bruce.
Okay.
And I was staying in a little cottage on Samoset in Hull that just had a little backyard that sort of was fenced and then led into other backyards in the back of a courtyard of a U-shaped complex.
Okay.
And my prior Great Dane, Sadie, had been there as a senior. So she was just happy to go out there and lay down in the sun. Bruce went out there, and within 3 seconds, he had jumped over the fence.
Wow.
It was only a 3-foot fence, but he looked at it like it wasn't anything. And so that's when I realized that I needed to make a different arrangement to get him the exercise he needed. And God bless Kathy Morgan. She loaned me her yard for Bruce whenever I wanted.
Nice.
And I would take him down there and run him. And it was a huge resource and a wonderful, generous thing for her to do.
At one of her 400 properties.
Yes, so this was the one down on Draper there. It was just a few blocks away.
I felt bad for her about her situation in Florida with the hurricane down there. She lost 4 or 5 houses down there.
She did.
Still dealing with that.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
No, that's a mess.
But as far as your music goes, when did you start playing out? When did you start playing out?
Well,
and either people paid to go and see you, or you said, "Hey, instead of playing on the campus, let's go out, let's play some clubs, play some bars."
Well, we played, like I said, mostly campus events through college, and then Andy and I went to New York and started a band there. with a bass player named Buddy Booker, who was a cab driver who taught me all about bottom.
Okay.
My drumming style was kind of handsy as opposed to footsy.
Okay.
And so, for instance, if you hear a lot of the old Chicago recordings, I love Danny Serafino. I think he's a great drummer. But what you hear is a lot of busy hands,
Okay.
as opposed to someone playing funk.
Okay.
That's just
Right. Yep.
that kind of thing.
Yep.
Buddy taught me about bottom,
Cool.
and so that changed things for me, and it meant that where the important stuff is, if you're going to be accompanying a band, and so that was helpful. And but I didn't stay with them for too long. Instead, I got married, and that was interesting, but not a forever situation. And then it took me a while. In the mid '90s, my ex was in law school at Emory. We went down to there to go to grad school, and so I was at a party one time, and with her and her law school friends, and there was some people fooling around with guitars and stuff, and so I played a little guitar, and they said, "Gee, what are you doing? We have a band." I said, "Really, I'm a drummer." They said, "You're a drummer? We really need a drummer. We have all the guitar stuff we need." And so I joined this band with me and 3 litigation attorneys,
Wow.
and who are all frustrated performers, to begin with, right? And we had a band that would play. The stuff at the time was kind of harder, punky, like Cracker and Green Day and that sort of thing. Early, mid '90s.
Not my taste.
No, and it was acquired from me too. But it was fun. We had a good time with it, and the kids loved it. So, but the kinds of gigs that we would get because of their contacts were law school formals or gatherings where, every year, it's changed a bit now, but, the big law firms would hire people to be interns for the summer, and they'd have these mixers at the beginning of the summer, where they'd clink glasses together, and the partners would say, "Glad to have you aboard," that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the challenge was that what they really needed was a jazz trio playing in the corner for an event like that, and what they got was us playing Cracker and Green Day because of the contacts.
That's funny.
And so the kids, the interns all loved us, and the partners were all plastered against the wall,
Right.
wondering what we were doing.
Right.
So there was that. That was in the mid '90s, and in the mid to late '90s, I wrote and recorded some more original music. Had a band that was sort of sitting in a studio that never played out, that a friend of mine got into, where he said, "Fred, I found this guy. He had sold a security system to him, and it was his basement studio. It was quite nice." And this guy wanted to have people around and develop some material. And so he said, "Fred, you got to come over. You got to play with these guys. By the way, the drum seat's taken. You're going to have to figure out how to play something else." And so I became the keyboard, percussion, fill-in, backing vocal sort of guy that would do things that the other members of the band weren't going to do, And we got to play some Santana and Grateful Dead and things like that. And so that was fun for a little while. And then the next involvement musically was actually not playing out for me. I was in a relationship with a woman who started a school for kids to learn how to do stand-up comedy. She was a comedian and a writer on the level of being able to write for Letterman, that kind of thing. So, but there were some health challenges and so forth, and so she stayed local in the Atlanta area and developed a school. Ran it for 7 years, probably saw 1,000 kids through that program.
Wow. Nice.
And I would be the guy, aside from marketing and selling tickets and stuff, if somebody wanted to do a song parody, I had to learn what they were going to do. So there was one kid in particular who actually made it big, and I'll tell you who it is. His name is Michael Rowland, and when he was 8 years old, he closed down the Punchline in Atlanta. 250 people on a Sunday afternoon, parents and friends, and he did his 5-minute routine, and at the end of that 5-minute routine was him singing "Hopelessly Devoted to You" to a Snickers bar.
Wow.
And he changed the lyrics up and so forth. So I learned this Olivia Newton-John song, and I played piano behind him. And so that was the sort of thing I did for a while at that point. And then in about 2008, I started gigging fairly heavily again.
Cool.
with blues bands. We had a blues band that released a CD called Fedora Blues Band. We had fedoras and skinny ties
Cool.
and that sort of thing.
Cool.
Cover band that came into focus actually in the past year or two again. And filling in for other people. And then I moved up here in 2011, got involved with the scene up here.
Now, would you consider yourself a drummer who's a guitarist or a guitarist who's a drummer?
Oh, I think anybody else would make that decision quite easily.
Go ahead.
I'm a drummer who also plays some
You're
guitar.
a drummer who plays guitar?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I can hold my own. But
But,
you wouldn't want me holding anybody else's.
No? Okay. All right. Well, I think this might be a good time to take a little break and hear a little bit more of your music. And then we'll come back and pick up the ball from there and see where you're going to take your music and, talk about maybe some funny stuff that, we'll get into in a little bit, okay?
Super.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, sit back and relax. And once again, the vocal stylings and guitar playing of Mr. Fred Meltzer.
I'm hard to love, I'm hard to love. I make a point in conversation that I'm hard to love, I'm hard to love. Oh, I'm hard to love. Don't say I never told you that I'm hard to love. I got to change my mind, I can't decide on a wine, but it's your fault that I can't get out the door on time. I know I look too fine to listen to your lines, so I put up barriers to see if you can be mine. But if you pass my test, then you can be my guest. And with all my demands, you def won't get no rest. We'll take off in your jet. Oh, you don't have a jet? Let me find someone who hasn't disappointed me yet. I'm hard to love, I'm hard to love. I make a point in conversation that I'm hard to love, I'm hard to love. Oh, I'm hard to love. Don't say I never told you that I'm hard to love. You want a piece of me, you'll have to wait and see. 'Cause I think I'm worth it and I know you're gonna agree. If you can handle my past, I grew up way too fast. So tell me up front what you're gonna do to last. You better bring some game and remember my name. 'Cause when I'm through with you next week, you'll never be the same. You all line up to try, you're just another guy. What makes you think you're different? 'Cause you're all gonna lie. I'm hard to love, I'm hard to love. I make a point in conversation that I'm hard to love, I'm hard to love. Oh, I'm hard to love. Don't say I never warned you that I'm hard to love. Wait just a minute, what makes you think you're gonna walk away? Why do you leave the conversation? Why do you keep yourself above the fray? Here's my number, I promise I'm not really like this. Give me a call and I'll tell you what you almost missed. I'm hard to love, I'm hard to love. I make a point in conversation that I'm hard to love, I'm hard to love. Oh, I'm hard to love. Don't say I never warned you that I'm hard to love. If someone tells you who they are, go ahead and believe them. If someone tells you who they are, go ahead and believe them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's hard to love, she's hard to love. Today I learned my lesson that she's hard to love, she's hard to love. Oh, she's hard to love. And you know I won't be messing 'cause she's hard to love. So this one's called All Over Me. All right, let's see. I'm going to do this one. I never thought a girl could ever touch me. Thought I'd keep you all at bay. But something changed and I know too much now. Now I just don't know what to say. Nothing could prepare me for the beauty of you. I see it on the inside and the outside too. You got it all over me. When it comes to intimacy, when it comes to sharing your dreams, got it all over me. And I know we can rise above it to get to the space we need, all over me. I always thought I'd just take care of myself. I was hedging my bets, hadn't met the one yet. I always thought I'd keep my love on the shelf. It's falling into your hands, don't let it slip through like sand. We can add a room to this house we build. It's not a house of cards or a house on stilts. You got it all over me. When it comes to intimacy, when it comes to sharing your dreams, got it all over me. And I know we can rise above it to get to the space we need. When you're smiling inside, or when they're laughing out loud, I know you're making me proud. When you're hurting inside, to not run and hide, you need to know that I tried. Ooh, ooh, ooh. As you sweep your insecurities off the floor, you're less and less surprised that I come back for more. And I know from now on, Can We Talk is not just a game, neither is using your name. And I know from now on that I can feel a new high when I look in your eyes. You're absolutely right, there's just no depth that ain't there. There's just so much of you that I want you to share. You got it all over me. When it comes to intimacy, when it comes to sharing your dreams, got it all over me. And I know we can rise above it, get to the space we need. You got it all over me. When it comes to intimacy, when it comes to sharing your dreams, got it all over me. And I know we can rise above it to get to the space we need, all over me. Well, she's making such a racket as she's walking down the street. She loves to click and clack it in front of every boy she meets. She ain't my baby. She thinks she ain't got nothing to lose. But no one's paying attention. She got them flip-flop floozy blues. Now she's got tan lines on her instep and halfway up her legs from wearing them strappy sandals and drinking from the keg. Yeah, she painted her toenails real nice in some deep dark red hues. But no one's paying attention. She got them flip-flop floozy blues. Now you would think that I could turn away or at least look down at my shoes, but I guess she's got the power, and I got them flip-flop floozy blues. Now I see her every day out there, and I know she'll never be mine. And one day I'll get over it, yeah, one day I'll be fine. But till then, you know she'll always light my fuse. You see, I'm wrapped around that twirling hair, and I got them flip-flop floozy blues.
Nicely done, Fred. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Nicely done. I told you you wouldn't be disappointed. So let's pick up the ball a little bit about moving forward. I know that we have some mutual friends. Ian Campbell.
He's a
who
terrific
spoke highly of
musician.
you. He was on the show here a couple of times.
Is that so?
Yeah, he was on here a couple of times back in the day.
Well,
We had a lot of fun, and I tried to get him back here again. He was with harmonica player. Was it Ian? No, there was Ian and who's the harmonica player? He plays with his duo.
Oh,
His duo. I forget.
I don't
his name.
know his name.
Anyway, hell of a harmonica player. The two of them are great.
yeah. No,
So-
Ian's very talented.
If you're watching this, Ian, get yourself back on here again.
Do it.
But anyway, so moving forward a little bit, you said you started to branch out. You were playing some blues. You were playing all different kinds of music. Did you focus on any one particular style?
It was at the time that was either cover band stuff or blues, and I like blues. I played with a guy who sounded like Muddy Waters and played slide guitar.
Okay.
He was a white guy from Alabama, and he had the most wonderful booming voice.
Really?
And in fact, later on, now he fills theaters all over the Southeast with a Johnny Cash tribute.
What's his name?
His name is Gray Sarton.
Don't know.
And the tribute is the Highwaymen. And
I've heard of them. I've
they-
heard of that. Yeah.
yeah, they've done real well with theaters all around the Southeast. And so he fronted. We had a 5-piece blues band, and the bass player and the guitarist keyboardist were both full time, and Gray and I were not.
Okay.
And we realized that if we wanted the other two guys to be available for the blues gigs, which we all really loved playing, that we needed to keep them busy so they wouldn't stray.
Okay.
So we created a band called Burning Time.
Burning Time.
The
Okay, that's a
tagline
cool
was,
name.
"So you don't have to."
Ah.
And so Burning Time would play cover gigs in bars, and almost every weekend, so that the guys that played with us in the Fedora Blues Band would be available when we needed
That
them.
almost has a little reggae name to it.
Fedora Blues.
No, the blues. Was it blues? Burning Time?
Oh, Burning Time.
Burning
Yeah.
Time has a little.
Yeah.
I could see a little reggae going on.
I'll
with
have to
that.
turn you on to the record that we made. The
Right.
song called Burning Time is it's a real swampy Louisiana kind
Really?
of feel. Yeah, really nice.
Cool. Little John Fogerty stuff, huh?
Yeah,
swampy.
yeah, swampy.
Cool. Now, you made a CD. Talk a little about that CD. It's got a funky name, and talk about how that came about. Who's
It's
in
called-
it? You're playing it solo. So take it away and talk about your CD.
The record's called Waxy Shellac and the Tasteless Apples, and it's called Shelf Life. And the whole idea is that if you've ever bitten into a non-organic apple that's got that shellac on it,
Okay. Yep.
they last forever and they look
They do.
great.
They do.
But they taste like hell.
Correct.
So
Or they taste
far
like
better.
nothing.
Yeah, or far better to try and get yourself an organic apple and get
Right.
within the ripeness and make
Right,
it happen. So that's where Waxy Shellac and the Tasteless Apples came from. And also, of course, if someone Googles that, they're not going to find anybody but me.
Is that a song? Is that the
No,
name? That's not a song.
No, it's
right?
not a song. It was just a name for the band. So the group is, a lot of it is me. So I played all the acoustic guitar, about 75% of the electric, about 95% of the bass, all the keys, all the drums, and all the lead vocals.
Okay.
And I brought in people who could really shred on guitar. Two different people. One was the producer, Joe Clapp in Hanover.
Joe Clapp, know him well.
He's just a terrific
Great guy.
Great guy, great producer, great guitar player.
Yeah.
Really knows his way around.
Yeah, I filmed a couple of kind of behind-the-scenes videos there.
At his studio?
For a couple of bands with him, yeah.
I love playing there.
Yeah.
I've been there with several. So I had recorded mostly on drums for 5 other acts in the year or two before I made my record. So I got to see Joe work quite a lot. And in the years before that, I had been playing in a Stevie Nicks tribute called Nightshade and Gold. And
okay, I've heard of them.
Who's
the lead singer for that?
Lori Beth Quinlivan.
I know Lori Beth.
Yeah.
Yep, I know Lori Beth.
And we had a lot of fun with that. I played with them for about 8 years.
Nice.
And around the same time, I also played in a Jimi Hendrix tribute called Jimmy Forever. So I played drums for the Hendrix, which is just so fun. And
who plays Hendrix?
A guy named Tony Rocks. Do you know Tony?
Not off the top.
Tony is an incredible player. He can do any style you'd ever want. He sings wonderfully, and he actually played on Peter Wolf's solo album. Remember when Lights Out came out in the late 80s?
Yes.
He was on that record.
Cool.
And he played with, I think, the Brothers Johnson and back in the day. So he was powerful, and he really just lives Hendrix. It just courses
Brothers
through
Johnson, maybe you know better than I. For some reason, they started going into drum machines, I believe, rather than regular drummers. I have a CD of theirs. I said, ooh, Brothers Johnson. I grabbed it a while ago, and it struck me as the drum machines.
No kidding.
That drives me crazy, because jazz, as you know, jazz completely elevated to the electronic drums, and it drives me up a wall.
Me too.
You know,
we could talk for hours about that.
We could. That's a thorn in my side.
Amen.
Because I've went to hundreds of shows at Scullers, and you see the real deal.
Yeah.
And then you get the CD, or you listen to them with the thump, thump, thump. You know, the repetitive. It's like, come on.
Yeah. I feel the same way.
My editorial for the day.
That's a rant that my wife has heard that rant many times. So. Waxy Shellac. So it has some songs that are sort of progressive intro into, more, not standard rock songs, a little edgy stuff that influenced by, Utopia. Do you remember Todd Rundgren's Utopia?
Sure.
And he was a big influence on me. And then there's the silly songs that sort of a Bare Naked Ladies, Steely Dan,
my favorite
Weird Al
band,
kind of
B&L.
stuff. Do you?
Oh, love them. Pick a song, I know every word.
Oh boy, better than I do.
I could even go 1 week.
You get it all done, huh?
I could do Enid.
The whole thing, huh?
I could do 1 week, and I can do Enid.
Outstanding. So those were sort of influences. About half the record is kind of silly commentary.
Really?
The other half is progressive intro into a little bit more sincere rock songs, and then there's a couple of political songs on the end that, hopefully will raise a little consciousness here and there.
You have a very eclectic taste. Who do you listen to? If I went out in your car and pulled out some CDs in your car, who would I find in there?
Good question.
Stayed up all night thinking of that one.
Well, I was deep into, influential wise.
Right.
Steely Dan, Utopia, a lot of Southern rock. I was the only Yankee Jew that I knew that had all of them, not just your straight up Skinner, Marshall Tucker band. It was Stillwater.
That jazzy, got that jazzy,
Sea Level,
smoothie, Sea Level. Yeah.
You know Sea Level.
Take a message to the people, right?
And
take a message to. I have that album and CD.
Stillwater.
Yep.
A lot of Allman Brothers, a lot of Greg Allman, a lot of anybody. I was the kind of guy that would scan the records for credits and figure out who played on the record and say, well, if so-and-so played on it, then it must be good because they did this and this and this, and so you give it a shot. And that's where I ran into Phil Collins with that, was it Rocket 88 that he had?
Yeah.
And which was a much jazzier, it was way different to anything that he did, anywhere else. But
you familiar with a drummer? One of my favorite drummers, and had some great stuff. Is Alphonse Mouzon? Do you know Alphonse?
I know the
Mouzon?
name, but I haven't heard.
Check that out.
Okay.
Blues, jazz, jazzy blues, good stuff.
Will do.
Good stuff. Yeah, great drummer. I think he's still alive. And if I forget who the drummer was for Gloria Estefan. and the sax player for Gloria Estefan.
The one
is
who
really cool.
wrote, do you know the story about the drummer? I don't know who he is, but she told a story about how he wrote, there's a song that was a big hit for her that has a chorus that goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, come on baby, say you love me.
Right.
Well, he wrote that, and she looked at him and she said, oh, come on.
Really?
And she almost didn't record it.
Really?
And
that's one of her biggest songs.
It was, yeah.
Okay. Cool. So you got, who's in you? Who do you listen to? Some of those other ones, you know. Let's say blues. Who would you listen to? Blues. Well, I'll ask you another form. You put, 4 people on your Mount Rushmore. Who would you put on your Mount Rushmore? Anybody, living or dead?
I got to think
Mount
about
Rushmore
that.
for music.
You know, Todd Rundgren would be one.
Really? I'll give you a Todd Rundgren story in a second. Go ahead.
I guess when you whittle it down, it's yacht rock and Art Blakey and that sort of thing. I just like a great song with a great melody, and I like real instruments that
too.
You know. Oh, really?
That's an easy question. Come on.
Let's see. Probably Neil Peart.
Neil Peart. Okay.
And I'm going to throw you one. Ronnie Hammond from ARS, from Atlanta Rhythm Section. I thought
he's so
that
into you.
Don't know that for sure, but I'd like to think so. I think that Atlanta Rhythm Section, Chicago, Steely Dan, Doobie Brothers, they have catalogs that now there's enough, after 50 years of their stuff, there's enough pro musicians out there that even a tribute to those bands is worth going to see.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I've seen some of the Steely Band. I mean, I saw the original Atlanta Rhythm Section back in the day, and Steely Dan. I mean, they're one of the groups that just, in my opinion, never did a bad song. You can listen to any one of them.
I had all the vinyl.
Pleased.
All the vinyl. Yeah.
My cute little ditty. I like the little ditty they do that very few people know. East St. Louis Toodaloo. Familiar with that?
Yep.
That little ditty, like 2 minutes.
Yep. It's just in between.
That little ditty.
Pretzel Logic.
Yeah, so cool.
Yep.
It's so cool. So cool. Now I'll narrow it down one other time. Like, you're walking through a park and there's an empty bench. Who would you like to see on that bench and sit and have a conversation
sit down and have a coffee
with them for an hour? Who would you want to sit with on that bench?
I think probably Paul Schaefer.
Paul Schaefer, good choice. Why Paul Schaefer?
First of all, he's been everywhere and he knows everybody. Second of all, he probably had the job that if I were to have a day job in music, that would be the job I would want.
For Johnny Carson.
Or Letterman.
I'm sorry, Letterman. Yeah, Letterman.
Just because, in fact, in business school, I did a talent show, and I was involved in organizing it, and we had a host, and I was sort of the musical guy that would play little interludes as people would come up and do their thing,
Right.
So I was the Paul Schaefer, and in fact, the host's name was Dave, and so, he'd say, "Are we ready for the next act?" And I'd get to say, "That's right, Dave," just like Paul. So I got my little Paul Schaefer moment, but I think that's who I would. And if you've ever seen, he has a podcast now.
Does he?
Where he sits behind a piano and he interviews people.
Cool. That'd be cool.
He did it for Joe Walsh, which was unbelievable.
That would be a hoot.
And then recently, because the new Spinal Tap movie is coming out, he did it for Derek Smalls, the bass player for Spinal Tap. And it was all in character. It was ridiculous.
Cool.
So fun.
Quick Todd Rundgren story about, 6-7 years ago. I was down to see Carl Palmer. It was Carl Palmer, there was ELO, and somebody else, and Todd Rundgren. People were walking out when Todd Rundgren came on.
Really?
I tell you, it was embarrassing. I mean, I've seen everyone. I've been to thousands of shows. It was embarrassing. First of all, he came out, and he was going techno.
He did try a lot of things over the years.
He didn't play any of his favorite. I think he played one song that the audience knew for maybe 45 minutes. and it was all techno. And he was walking around with all these robots and all these other people, and he's trying to be a robot as he's singing and dancing. It would be like me trying to be Michael Jackson. It just didn't work. People were leaving. People were getting up and leaving and looking around saying, what the hell is this? Now, since then, I've had other people who have gone to see him and said it was fantastic.
Well,
so that might have been one little, let me try this out.
I can tell you that I didn't hear about that particular show, but back in the 90s, a friend of mine and I went to see him, and it was not electronic. It was not techno at all. It was very organic, but he also didn't play. He played one song that people recognized.
Yeah, he played
and
one
I
song.
felt like I came away from there feeling like I had to qualify to be a fan. And that was a little annoying, to be honest with you. But we did see the Utopia reunion tour at the Orpheum here in Boston several years ago. And they hadn't played together in 30-something years.
Really?
And they were unbelievable. And he played some of his hits as well. And it was such an engaging and wonderful show. And he finished with a song called One World, which I had a band called Free Range for about 8 years that played my originals around. In fact, Chuck was an early bass player for Free Range. When we were an acoustic trio,
I guess nobody good was available.
No, I was thrilled to have Chuck because we played a song called Waves, which was at the time a 3-part that later became a 4-part harmony, and it needed a deep sort of imitation African deep voice.
Chuck's got that.
And Chuck definitely had that,
Right.
and he had it with much more facility. And then later on, when we became, a 4-piece band with bass and drums and so forth, I had to sort of do that part because no one else was going to do it, in the 4-part. And I had to cozy up to the mic and just sort of, I did not have the body in my voice for that the way Chuck does. So.
Well, for the record, folks, Chuck is a dear friend of mine, and he happens to be in the studio today, and he would have been very disappointed if I didn't take that opening that he gave me. Because if he was sitting there, he would do the same thing. But anyway, is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to talk about? Anything that you think's important, or anything else that you want to add before we start closing up?
Well, for today's show, I borrowed a guitar from Jeff Jones, and Jeff and Heather Jones are the Joneses, and they're an acoustic duo that plays around the
I'm
South
familiar
Shore.
with them. I'm familiar with the Joneses.
Heather sang on the record.
Hard to keep up with them, though.
Yeah, that's what they say. So Heather sang backing vocals on 3 songs on the record.
Nice.
And so she is a Tasteless Apple.
Okay.
And as is Kayla Dutton. Do you know Kayla?
I don't know Kayla.
Kayla and Ed Dutton had a cover band that played. They were a next level kind of cover band, and they called themselves Tomorrow's Hangover.
Okay.
And they played together up until several years ago. But when Kayla came and she sang, and there's songs where she sounds a little like Natalie Merchant on the record.
Okay, I love
songs
Natalie
where she
Merchant,
sounds a little like Cher. I mean,
Okay.
if you listen to the influences that
chameleon on the voice.
that were
Cool.
brought in, outstanding.
Cool. How can people find your CD? How can people, follow you, get in touch with you, find your music? Or
Well, we are on any streaming platform.
we'll put all this up on the screen. But go ahead.
Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, any of these things. Look for Waxy Shellac and the Tasteless Apples.
Okay.
And so you'll get to hear the record at any point, at any rate. To keep up with me, I'm mostly a Facebook person, and so it's Fred FJ Round 2 Meltzer.
Yep.
And so go ahead and friend me, and we'll see what happens. I'm playing a podcast, a live episode called Dirty South TV just next week, next Thursday,
Nice.
back down in Atlanta. So
Nice.
this is the show season. I don't know what we're really
How
promoting
often do you
for.
come up here? Do you come up this way often, or no?
I
know
am
you're
here
on business for the couple of days.
Right. I'm here on business for a week every 2 months. And
Right.
so I try and get out to jams or open mics and, see, I know hundreds and hundreds of people here.
Right,
And I
right.
like to connect when I'm here
Right.
and take a little of the boredom out of the work week.
Well, I'm glad that you got a hold of me and kind of make up for that other time when you came in with obscure notation ready to go.
Oh,
but
sure.
I'm glad we made up for it today, and
Yeah.
I really want to thank you for coming in today and supporting the show. And it's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's mine, sir.
But we wouldn't be able to do this show without the great people here at SMAC, you know. We have Luke Asak in the booth pushing the buttons and always making us look and sound pretty. And we have some people in the audience, and I am very happy today because Rich Goldman is back in studio today. I've been telling you over the weeks that he's been fighting a battle, and if you saw him and looked at him, you would say he is winning. So Rich, thank you for fighting that battle and for being here. We also have my friend Chuck Vermette, who is here, singer-songwriter. He has been on the show, and if he has any sense of, you know, something, he'll come back again.
Hope so.
He's welcome here anytime. And of course, we have our regular who runs a camera, supports the show, Beverly Dancy. Thank you for all being here, and thank you for supporting the show. And folks, I always encourage you to go out and support you musicians. Go out and see the Freds of the world. Go out and see the Chucks of the world. Go out and support your local musicians. They do it for you. You do it for them. So for everyone here at SMAC, once again, for my special guest, Fred, again, thank you.
Pleasure's mine.
I am Frank Walsh. Tune in and tune on.